All right, we have reached time. So, where do we start?
Um, so Ethan sent his poem to me early because he had to leave.
Okay,
So I said I'd read it, and then you can provide the feedback, and he'll see it later.
I'll see it. Okay.
Um, so he wrote an acrostic poem that goes like this: I was walking on the street and humming to myself, making myself happy. I tripped, however, not happy anymore. Pain filled my heart, across my body, into my limbs, never ending. And so that creates an acrostic of I am in pain.
That's a fun poem. I especially like the making myself happy moment. That's very nice. And then that we get to see the pain traveling through. So like pain becomes this personified thing that travels. It's almost like located. Where does it travel from? Say it in the poem again.
So across my body into my limbs.
Into my limbs. Yeah, yeah, across my back. So yeah, we so pain becomes something to watch move, something that moves across. That's fun. Yeah, no, that's a nice. I like Ethan's small poems. He shared one last week too. A short little thing. It's fun. It's great. Thanks for sharing, Ethan.
So next up is Olivia. She's gonna put it in the chat, and Connor, you go ahead.
Paces and steps, faster and fast. Heartbeats drum faster and fast. Sweat pours down, steadier and steady. Panic rises up, steadier and steady. Feet hitting cobble, louder and loud. Beats of hearts race louder and loud. Eyes look around, pained and pain. Brain gives no thoughts, pained and pain. Wind against faces, sharper sharp. Guts pain from running, sharper and sharp. Hair whistling behind, flowing and flows. Bodies in need of letting go. Opened the door to greatness. A simple sink. A toilet. Joy. Okay. So, the poem is about someone who has to go to the bathroom. um, that's very funny. That's great, Olivia. Yeah, I like it a lot. One thing that I like about it is actually until the end of the poem, it's really about disembodiment. So it's about it doesn't actually name the body that much throughout. It names like portions of the body, like the eyes, for example, the guts. Then there's this moment where all of these things become pluralized in a strange way. Bodies in need of letting go, which suggests to me that the bodies in need of letting go are the organs of one body or the elements of one body, which are treated as individual bodies in this particular poem. So there is disembodiment in the poem. And that is actually a very interesting and surprising way of describing pain as a kind of dissociation. So the poem dissociates, in other words, heart beats from the body that contains the beating heart, feet from the body which contain the feet, eyes, etc., and so on. So, yeah, what happens is the body in pain, who is the speaker of the poem, is isolating individual constituents of the body as a way of describing or enacting the experience of pain, and that's totally how pain feels, like 100%. It's like if you have a sore ankle, your entire body somehow becomes your ankle. Like you're not really attuned to other parts of the body. It's like just your ankle. It's all you can think about. So it's very good. The plurals in the poem are very interesting because there's also the faces. I don't know what to make about that. So anyway, and then just one other thing about the poem that's interesting is it would be ordinary and predictable to say fast and faster, but that you say faster and fast is very interesting, kind of strange play with words. So that was great, I thought. I think maybe the title of the poem should be Joy. And so you could move the last line joy to the title. So then it's not the last line of the poem, it's the title. And the last line of the poem could be a simple sink, a toilet. Which would be a pretty great ending. Okay.
All right.
Great work. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thanks. Next up is Nova.
Her face was tingling in the cool wind. She smiled, for the love of her life, Poseidon was there. She leaned into his chest. She puckered her lips for the kiss. But, okay, I was over here. Poseidon gasped with horror. She opened her eyes, instantly alert. If the god of water was alarmed, then something extremely unpleasant must have happened. She opened her eyes, her heart racing. She looked down and saw an apparition that would murder many would-be heroes to come. She was the color of unripe grapes. I actually searched up unripe grapes for this. The color of unripe. I actually searched up images of unripe grapes to make sure that it was the right color I wanted. Her fingernails had lengthened to razor-sharp claws. She scrabbled for a lock of hair and found tiny snakes trying to bite at her fingers. Yes, I reworded that. She let go for fear of their minuscule fangs biting her fingers. Biting her. Piercing her skin, how about? Yay.
I think biting's better.
Now, I don't want to repeat.
So what? Yeah, I think it should just be she let go. She let go of fear. Period.
For fear of their minuscule fangs. Poseidon teleported away out of disgust. She unsteadily got to her feet. Poseidon, where are you? What's going on? What happened to me? She called in vain. The last inquiry screeched. Wait. My name is Medusa, and this is my story.
Do you know in the mythology how Medusa becomes Medusa?
It's because Athena curses her because she and Poseidon were making out in front of her temple.
Yeah. So okay, that was great. That was a great description of bodily experience, a body becoming a monstrous. I think you should rewrite that myth from the perspective of the monster herself. She is a monster. It's not an insult, it's just a fact. And I would go even harder with the monstrous details, the snakes and such. Describe the feeling of hair becoming snakes or hair coming out of the scalp in the form of snakes. Do you know what Poseidon does when she turns into a monster?
Well, in Percy Jackson's Greek Gods, he said that Poseidon screamed. I didn't think that a god would scream, so I put gasped in horror instead.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, I don't know what I would do with Poseidon in that situation. I'm trying to think if I were in your position and I were writing a story about Medusa, what would I have Poseidon do? I don't know. Okay. Anyway, interesting. Thanks for sharing that. It was very grotesque, fun to read, indeed quite monstrous. Thanks, Nova, as always.
Thanks.
Thanks, Nova. Last up, unless somebody else wants to go after, is Ellie, and they'll be sharing their poem in the chat. I'll read this one. In a body of a person, there is dark black blood. As days pass, the dark will worsen. On one day, the hiss and growls will flood. The person's eyes narrow as he spies his victim, and the body's snakes and beasts are growing. The important body system is replaced with a beast's dark glowing.
Great last line, Ellie. I read the first couplet silently to myself before Caleb did, and I read, in the book of a person there is dark black blood. In the book of a person? And I thought, whoa, that's one of the weirdest sentences I've ever read in my life. So maybe it should be the book of a person. Anyway, the description of the body is, of course, quite grotesque, monstrous. It is. So what you've done here is you've combined both the monstrous body and the body transformed. The body transformed is not always monstrous, of course. Oftentimes the body transformed is like a body can be transformed into an angel. It can be risen from the dead. A body risen from the dead is a body transformed. And what you have done here is combined two of the types of bodies that we talked about. And I really like the image at the end. The body system is replaced with a glowing, but it's a dark glowing. The system is replaced with a dark glowing. It's a nice metaphor. It's very very strange. Yeah, I like this poem a lot. On one day. Yeah, it's great. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks, Ellie.
The important body system. The important body system. Great.
So next up is Emma.
I don't have a title for it yet, but the dark. We are celebrating everything. We are stretching and writhing and becoming. People dot their I's with hearts, but we do not work this way. We are standing tall and speaking, saying, we walk the earth right with you, and if you do not appreciate colors, appreciate us. We can make your life hell. We tell you hello, but what we really want to say is goodbye. We would like to fly away. We could own bat wings, but we have no allowance. We scratch ourselves and you scratch yourself. We have forgotten to reach out of your mouth, your ear, and sprayed mosquito repellent on us. This is how you began to believe that mosquito repellent doesn't work. We tell you stories and we dance to our voices. We tell ourselves stories, and they are beautiful stories. We touched the world and the world touched us back. The rest of the story goes on to explain how we will dominate, take over. I tell the story with such rich description. I am vivid in my movements, just like you.
Wow, another little treasure, that poem. So weird, so good. Okay, a couple things about that. The ending of that poem was so weird. The part where the we starts telling stories, and then the story is like being told in the poem in that moment. Like, because okay, so it does shift from the third to the first person, right? Is that right, Emma?
Yeah,
at a certain point it says I tell the story vividly, right? Okay. Yeah, that move is so weird. That was an incredible poem. Okay, so so I am reminded hearing that poem of demons in mythology, in various religious traditions, literary traditions, demons who are, gleeful, joyful, dancing, telling stories, stories that are meant to lead astray the one who hears them. The opening line of the poem is incredible. We celebrate everything. And then the last line of the poem is what it's a moment of addressing the reader directly, right? Isn't there a you at the end of the poem? What start read the end of the poem again from We Tell Stories. How does it go?
Okay. We tell you stories and we dance to our voices. We tell ourselves stories and they are beautiful stories. We touched the world and the world touched us back. The rest of the story goes on to explain how we will dominate, take over. I tell this story with such rich description. I am vivid in my movements, just like you.
Okay, yeah, great, awesome. So that's the really weird, scary moment in the poem. It's genuinely scary, where we tell stories, beautiful stories, etc. The story goes on to say that we will take over the world. I am vivid in my descriptions? I am.
Yeah, I am vivid in my movements.
I am vivid in my movements. Wait, what's the vivid part about description? Is there something about descriptions?
Yeah, I tell this story with such rich description.
There it is. I tell the story. Okay. So the story goes on to say we will take over the world. I tell the story in such rich description. I am vivid in my movements. I am just like you, or something like that. So the story, you go from this register of exposition or description where you say we tell these stories, but then the story becomes the poem. The poem goes on to say we will take over the world. That's the scary moment. That's like the terrifying turn that the poem takes. The story goes on to say we will take over the world, and then I am vivid, or I tell, or I describe in such rich description, or whatever. I tell the story in such rich description, and then I am vivid in my mood. So it goes from mere description to becoming, just as becoming had been a theme earlier on in the poem. So the story is the means by which the speaker of the poem is actualized in the first person singular, who then becomes you, the reader of the poem. So yeah, it reminds me also of this moment in the Bible where there's this possessed man, and he's asked what his name is, and he says we are legion. So which is to say, like, there are many of us. There are, oh yes, you put it in the chat. It's a body speaking as legion, as we, as a multitude. It also reminds me in that way of Walt Whitman, who says, I am enormous. I am multitudes. So in me are multitudes. In me are many. The body expresses itself in the plural, as many things, many bodies simultaneously. Audrey, were you going to say something or ask a question?
No, I was gonna ask what the subject of the poem was, but she answered that in the chat.
Yeah, so we see, it's very interesting how that poem, kind of like turns a single body into many bodies, and then back into a single body at the end of the poem. But then the single body is like transposed into, anyway, and it's transposed through a simile. So it's very interesting. It's very, I mean, it's not just the lines that are good, but also the shape of the poem. It's interesting to think about. It's fun. It's great. Thanks for sharing it, Emma.
Thanks.
So I think that's the end. Is that right?
Yeah, that's it.
Great. Okay. Thanks for coming. I always really enjoy hearing your reading and what you have to say. And I hope to see all of you again next Saturday. So we will talk then. If you have questions, you can stay after and we can chat. Otherwise, you're free to go.